these tall young guys, man. First of all, I'd like to give praise to the Supreme Eternal Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and due respects to the spiritual leader of this particular spot, Chief Prince Ariel, to the princes, chiefs, brothers, sisters, Marine, Rabbinate, and Kohanim. Greet you all in the time of my forefathers. Shalom Aleichem, Shabbat Shalom. First of all, I'd like to say, Adonai Septati Takufia Giti Lateaka, O Lord, down my lips, and my mouth should declare praise. So I have the honor to be able to share a little insight into this particular sidra, Ki-Tavo, which means when you come in, and it's a very interesting sidra. So I'm just going to highlight some stuff. Normally, as some people might know, I'm normally scheduled to do the Haftorot. And so most people think I'll be doing it live, but I tend to do it Sunday morning, when Chief will be ready. And then he posts it at the time, that they see it, so which is be Friday. But but like I said, it's an honor to be able to bring out some insights into the sidra itself. And also this time of year that we're dealing with, which is as we get ready to go in the month of Elul. Sometimes we use the acronym Anila Dodi Wadodi Li. I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. Or, every bit particular, I am to my uncle, and my uncle is to me. But the thing is that we don't use it in the sense of beloved. So, we're supposed to be trying to prepare ourselves as we go to this particular portion, this season, which was the 6th month of Elul, to try to atone and work on self. See, we spend more time evaluating everybody else, but we spend very little time evaluating ourselves. That's right. And I guess and what's strange is that it was remarkable. We look at ourselves every day in the mirror before we step out the door. Mm-hmm. But what we don't want to see, we don't see. And what we like to see, that's everybody else better like it too. We step on out. And that's how we hit the streets. If I approve of me, then who are you not to approve of me? Right. That would sound egotistical and vain, but I mean, that's what, pretty much a lot of times, that's how we roll as a people. Torah. All right, so the book of Ki-Tavo will be starting from the Deuteronomy 26th chapter, and it will continue all the way to the 29th chapter and ending at the 8th verse. But they have, I'm just going to, because I know I'm not going to spend the time, because especially I know a lot of people go into 28th chapter of Deuteronomy. We refer to it as the mirror for, the black man in America. We identify ourselves with that. I'm not going to spend that much time on that area there. Focus on the curses and the blessings and try to identify with the plight of those people. And what is strange is that we tend to identify more with the plight of being the people of the curse instead of being the people of God. That's what we tend to identify with more. And that seems, and you say, well, I don't mind being identified as the people of God that has some problems. Mm-hmm. But why should I be identified as the people of the curse of God? That seems a little bit bizarre if you're trying to get right. Right. That curse will be your first identity, right, as well as to prove yourself to be a people. And we know that in this particular section, well, I'm just going to highlight some of the stuff and then go in straight into it. All right, so the first one we're going to be talking about offerings of fruits. The next section we'll be talking about, prayers for the Lord, blessings. Then the next section, the covenant of God and the people. Then it goes on command to write the law, curses upon the disobedient. Then blessings for the obedient, and then curse for disobedient. Then we end up with punishment for disobedient, exaltation to a people to obedience. Well, it sounds like we got some rules and regulations. What? Seems like a lot of times, and I was just sharing with another chief man while we was on the side. So it's not a problem thinking outside the box. It's a problem acting out the box. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, we act out the box. You know, thinking you could if you qualify, if you qualify, you can let your mind go beyond the box. You know, I used to joke with my kids when they was younger, and they said, "Abba, you know, I was just thinking." I said, "You was thinking?" He said, "Yeah, I was just thinking that such and such thing was the case." I said, "Wow, that's amazing." I said, "You know what? Your mind too little to be out by itself, so you be hold it back home for a minute. Keep it back home for a minute." Cause you're wandering off, but but they be trying to understand what I'm saying because they be young. So they trying to understand. My mind too little to be out by itself. First of all, I got to figure out what my mind is. Mm-hmm. I know what thinking is, but I'm not sure what the mind is. So, but one of the things is that, also exaltation is one of the great things you can give to another individual too as well. Because, a lot of times that when people say certain things, whether it's good or bad, you say, thank you for your thoughts. Whether it's good or bad, thank you for your thoughts. Because now at least you voiced it. It's those quiet thoughts that I'm kind of suspicious of. The quiet thoughts. People could look at you all the time and don't, say what's on their mind concerning you. Or you might look like somebody that they had an issue with, or you remind them of somebody they had an issue with, and they just act strange and cold and, around you, and you're trying to figure it out. What's wrong with that person? And they might be saying, same thing about you. What's wrong with you? And y'all both got these walls up on both sides trying to figure out what's wrong with the other person. We never say, Holly, what's wrong with us? Because that's too revealing. Too revealing. Because when you start to look into yourself, when you say take heed to thyself, a lot of times we don't want to look that close. Because sometimes we be embarrassed to ourselves. But we're going to start off just a little bit because I find a lot of interesting things in Ki-Tavo. But like I said, in this season, we all got to take that opportunity in this particular month before we get into the season of the 7th month, which is Yom Teruah, most commonly called Rosh Hashanah. Because we all looking for some kind of new beginning. So when we look at, as we go into the season, the change our lifestyle, to change our demeanor, to change our character, to be more godly, it's not an overnight process. Now, you can stop doing something for the moment right away. And then, but to break the habit, to change. See, the thing is that when you try to get better in this way of life, change is never, ever comfortable. Because if you have to change the way you live, that means that you got to move out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Because what you was doing, you got comfortable in, and you find out it's not correct. And when you're trying to correct yourself, that's a little bit physical struggle, as well as mental struggle. That's why they have a bridle in a horse's mouth. But to correct them and keep them under control. And sometimes, the reason to keep them under control, as big as the horse is and how heavy it is because he's hurting. So he go the wrong way, he feel that hurt, and he turn where he feel comfortable at. And that's what sometimes, like I say, we know it's not a problem for our thoughts to go out the box at times. But it's a problem when we act out the box. And when I say act out the box, that means that when we have laws, statutes, and judgments, we have rules and borders that we got to live within. And a lot of times we don't look at them as borders. We just say we got laws, statutes, and judgments we live by. But the laws, statutes, and judgments that you live by, first of all, you don't want to get to the judgments. That's number one. That's the part you want to leave out for a minute. You want to keep up with the laws and the statutes. That way you ain't got to worry about the judgment part. But we focus on judgment. So now we got time to think about the judgment that's coming. And then when we get to that particular time in Yom Kippur, we're not focusing on trying to plead our case. We come in guilty as charged. Yep. Could I get some clemency? Yep. You know what I mean? Is there any mercy left up in there? Could I get a piece of that mercy? Right. I mean, do you have any kind of compassion for me at this particular time? So we're going to start off with the 26th chapter of Deuteronomy, first verse.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And it shall be when thou art come into the land which Yehovah thy God give thee for an inheritance, and doth possess it, and dwell therein, that thou shalt take of the first fruit of all the fruit of the ground, which thou shalt bring in from thy land, that Yehovah thy God give thee, and thou shalt put it in a basket, and shalt go into the place which Yehovah thy God shall choose his name to dwell there. And thou shalt come into the Kohen that shall be in those days, and say unto him, I profess this day unto Yehovah thy God, that I am come into the land which Yehovah swore unto our fathers to give us.
Hold right there. All right. Now, what we have here is not only that we bring a certain produce into a place where God chose. That's what most people focus on. But what we need to focus on, that is very rarely we're going to find in Scripture a formula to how to pray about certain items. We are told what to say at the place bringing our produce. Now, you might say, okay, I don't like that prayer. I got one jazzy. You know what I mean? I got one. I'm going to show the Kohen I know how to think deep. You know what I mean? Because this is my produce. You know what I mean? I got this basket on my, holding this up. This is my basket of stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm proud of what I manifested. I'm proud enough of what I got. So therefore, I mean, that formula, that prayer, it doesn't do much compared to how I feel about what I did. But it's not about you. That's why the formula is given. And that's why it's told you to think about the Creator now while you're giving up something that you thought was yours. You know, so you're told this is how you address it at that time. And we have several types. And what's different from what we think about, I spoke on it briefly in one of my talks on the YouTube, is that when people think of types these days, they think of stuff that they're always giving up, leaving. We, at certain types we give out, and certain types we enjoy. So when the word types, even though it means like a tenth or something like that, it's not always a tenth in everything that we give up. You know, because you got a first one, that's not a tenth. All right, so you got the first of your doles, that's not a tenth. You know, so you have a lot of stuff that you give up that's not part of the tenth. And some of the stuff you give up, you enjoy. But when people go to a certain organization, they say, I want the tithes come in here. You don't get none of that. That leaves your hands and goes someplace else. That's the difference. You know, so we have several types that we do within a year. Usually the second, fourth, and the sixth year, we have certain produce we bring up within the third year. So we have several produces that we bring it up. Some we eat at home, some we bring to the place we choose. So when we bring something to the place that God chooses his name to dwell there, and you notice it always say Hamakon, the place, you know, because at this particular time, they don't have the Beit HaMikdash, the temple. They have the Mishkan, the tabernacle. So therefore, one of the things, just in case some people might not, follow it, the difference between the tabernacle and the Beit HaMikdash, and I just spoke on it not too long ago, is that wherever the tabernacle sits, the ground is holy. The Beit HaMikdash is built on holy ground, which is a big difference. So the temple that Solomon built is on holy ground, whereas the tabernacle itself, wherever it was erected, that became holy ground. So now, while we don't have the temple today, we still know where the holy spot is. But we can't tell out of the 42 journeys that we talk about and read about in the book of Deuteronomy, we don't know where the tabernacle was stood up at. We can't mark the spot, say X mark the spot. We couldn't do that at this particular time. So that let you know that one thing, it teaches you one thing, that sometimes you can create the holiness of atmosphere around you, and other times you just happen to be in that holy spot as an individual. But let's go a little bit forward. We learned about the first time, because we all of us have prayer books. Some of us write our own prayers. We got a poet, right here that write a lot of nice, poems and stuff. But when it comes down to serving this God, he got the formula for how he wants to be served on certain things. And a lot of times people say, we have this cliche that most people say, no matter what you call them, everybody serve God in their own special way. you like to try to serve somebody in your own special way. And I shared this with the people before I go back into the book just a little bit, not to go too far off topic. It was a woman that married, was interested in this man, and said, and the parents and people said, you shouldn't marry into that family. Why you shouldn't marry in that family? Because that family is a bunch of critics. You know, they criticize everything. You know, no matter what, you can never do anything correct for them. So she said, well, he's not really like that. I think I could work with him. I think I could change him. So they got married. So naturally, you know, being a good wife and everything like that, the man wake up in the morning next day after the honeymoon and the marriage and all that kind of stuff and said, well, she said, honey, what you want for breakfast? He said, I want 2 eggs, some toast, some juice and some coffee, 1 egg fried, 1 egg boiled, and I want it all done in 7 minutes. That's not impossible, because it don't take that long to boil an egg now.
Right.
You know? So 7 minutes. So you're talking about coffee, you know, 2 eggs, some toast, you know, and 1 egg fried, 1 egg boiled, some orange juice, in 7 minutes. It ain't an impossible job. That's reasonable. A woman that's cooked, no, that's reasonable time. That's reasonable time. So she go down and fix it up. He come downstairs for his breakfast. Everything looking and appearing okay. But he happened to have this frown on his face. And she said, well, what's wrong, honey? He said, you fried the wrong egg. So he had to find something to say something to criticize about. And I say that we got to watch what we criticize as we go through this particular season. You know what I mean? So now we got to change the formula up. So when we look at the prayer, we can't say this prayer is not good enough. You know, we got to move on. But let's move on from here and see what we got.
Verse 4. And the priest shall take the basket out of your hand and set it down before the altar of Yehovah Eloheka. Thou shalt speak and say before Yehovah thy God, a wandering Aramean was my father, and he went down to Egypt, sojourned there, few in number, and he became there a nation great, mighty, and populous. And the Egyptians dealt ill with us and afflicted us, and laid upon us hard bondage. And we cried unto Yehovah Elohe Abotenu, and God heard our voice and saw our afflictions and our toil and our oppression.
All right, there. Before we go any further, I just want to focus on that. We at the altar of God now. Now we got one part of the prayer that we told to say, but now this next part that you're told to say, and I'm just going to skip on it a little bit, and it says, a wandering Aramean was my father, and he went down into Egypt and sojourned there, few in number, and he became there a nation great, mighty, and populous. All right. So now, what is strange is that we are told here, because we say we're all descendants of Abraham, but some people will allude to it and say that's Abraham we're talking about, because we know he had a nationality. All right? We know Yaakov and Isaac was born in the land. So what was their nationality other than the descendant of Abraham? So some people would say this, and they use it and could be argued that's Abraham. I, on the other hand, refer to it as Yaakov himself. Because, and the reason I would say Yaakov himself is because only if you go by Midrashic legend, you would think about Abraham being sought to be killed and murdered. But Yaakov's father-in-law was going to do some damage.
Yep.
And he was over there in Armenia.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And he snuck away.
Yep.
And he said, I left over with my staff and came back with 2 bands. Mm-hmm. All right? And he was his father-in-law was in hot pursuit.
Yep.
To do him some bodily harm, put hands on him. So now, why is it at a time of your prosperity, you're told to remember when you had nothing?
Right.
When you had no real, security other than the Creator. They make you realize how low you was and position you was from down in the bottom that you raised into the top. So, and let you know your true value, because sometimes you don't see your true value. You might imagine what value you could be, but you don't see your true value as an individual right in the now. So the Creator had you say, look back, not at yourself, but from where you was from. See, a lot of times we look at the fruit, but not the root. And that's where we make mistakes at. So now let's go a little bit further down, and that's, we said, but it's talking about, this is part of the formula you got to say, all right? And then keep going, pick it up from where you left off 8.
And Yehovah brought us forth out of Egypt with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm and with great terribleness and with signs and with wonders. And he hath brought us unto this place and hath given us a land flowing with milk and honey. And now, behold, I have brought the first fruits of the land which thou hast given me. Thou shalt set it down before Yehovah thy God and worship before Yehovah thy God. And thou shalt rejoice in all the good which Yehovah thy God hath given thee, and unto thy house, thou and the Levi and the stranger that is in the midst of thee.
Hold right there before we go any further. Did we make it in the land yet?
No, sir.
No. So the beginning of the chapter, Ki-Tavo, is that you're about to go in. You're here, but you're not there. So you're going to have certain things that are going to be fruitful. You're going to go to a land that's better than what's over here. Right here, we depend on our food coming from up in heaven. Over there, there's produce in the earth. All right, so and not only that, when we look at the spot, when you talk about where we're going to go at, you know, it said land flowing with milk and honey, all right, that we are given this place, but yet we haven't taken possession of the place. We standing at the brink of the Jordan at this particular times near the plains of Moab, and Moses giving this here dissertation about like if you had it already. Before he goes, because like I said before, the book of Deuteronomy is basically a 37-day, lecture that's coming from Moshe. It's not coming from the Creator. See, before we was always hearing what God had to say, through Moses. Now we hear what Moses saying as he understands, as God presented it to him. And so for the 37 days, which is unique because this is the only section out the 5 books that we got actually the date where it actually started to start. All the rest of the books, we guess at it a little bit and everything like that. We come close in the ballpark. When this book came about, when Genesis came about, we say, okay, we got an idea when Moses went up on the mount and he was being taught about Genesis because he heard the story before, but it's not like hearing the story from the Creator. Right. We got these other laws and stuff. We got an idea when he got all that. We got an idea about Leviticus. We get some ideas about certain things, but when we get to the book of Deuteronomy, we got an actual date when he started talking about this. So this is phenomenal that we could trace how long it is and what pretty much is, because now how we trace it, we know approximately when he died. Give or take a day or two. So we got an idea how long, after Moses gave this speech. So one thing I always wonder is how much did he talk in each day? Because we know how long this book is. Right. So since we know how long this, and how big this book is, all these chapters in this book, the statutes that's in this book, we say, well, how much did he tell the people each day? Because he's constantly, every day, telling them something for that length of time. And then when he told them that, did he break it down any further than just only decide to write the brief, summary of what he said? Because a lot of times we try to summarize what we write sometimes. What's going on in that book? Tell me the details. What's interesting? So you ain't going to tell them word for word that's printed in the book. You're going to say, well, in a nutshell, I'm going to summarize. I'm not going to go through the whole book. You're going to have to read the book, but I'm going to give you an idea what the book is about. This way we normally talk about anything. But here it is. You always wonder, and it should make you always study even more harder when you say how long it took for him to speak this day. Sometimes you might want to speak for a couple hours. Sometimes you might want to speak for about maybe 30 minutes. Yeah. So we know some of us that went to school, them double period classes, people be doing like this here. Yeah, we learn that when we go to school. You know, and we told them, I think, if I remember correctly, I think a period was like 40-something minutes.
Oh, man.
That was a period. So you had a double period. So, so you're not, you're basically doing a little bit more than an hour and a half, something like that, somewhere, give or take a little. And the first period, even the teacher, he said, all right, look here, I'm going to let y'all go early.
Yeah.
The double period. So you wonder if Moses teaching law every day for 37 days. Pretty much guesswork. The 37 days is guesswork. But we know, that he had time, to do it before he died. And we know that the people mourned for him for 30 days. And we know when Joshua entered the land, that's how we could do the calculation for those that might be trying to wonder how we come up with 37 days or so. Traditionally, they say 37. All right, but the ballpark is close. All right, so now let's pick it up right here. But one of the things is that with your produce, and we're the only nation that's involved with had this kind of mentality, is that it's talk about the Levite, the stranger that is in your midst. All right, so you're supposed to rejoice and bring your produce to the place where God chose, but you're also supposed to rejoice that people other than your family is eating this with you.
Okay.
You're not supposed to have a joyous occasion and just you and all that you consider yours.
Exclusive.
Your real joy and the joyous occasions when you're able to share about, what you have.
Right.
See, one of the things is it's one of them sage saying from the sages, about charity and loving kindness. And they show the different things between charity and loving kindness. Now, charity is basically, you do it with money, what I mean, but loving kindness, you could do with money and and without money. All right, charity is only done with the poor. Loving kindness you could do with the poor and the rich.
Right.
What I mean, so charity is only done with the living. But loving kindness can be done to the dead because somebody got to put him away. He can't bury it himself. So, and take care of the body himself and move from one spot to the next spot himself.
Right.
So when we talk about loving kindness, that kind of chesed, compassion, all right, this is what we should be focusing on as we come into this particular season. Because we think about charity, giving, but we only think about, all right, we see guys all the time. Can you help me? I'm homeless, I'm starving. Right. You get them down and go about your business. That's charity.
Right.
And but is it really loving kindness too? If you thought about saying, well, I don't have the time to really do more, and not just talking about giving more money. I don't have time to really look into your situation. But I'm concerned about your situation. I might be able just to share a word with you.
Okay.
All right. Then that loving kindness kick in. But the charity is right away. Bam. All right. And that's the difference. All right. And when I say the last part, when loving kindness is done for the dead, that's something you can never be repaid back for.
Right.
All right. So that means that if you did show charity and loving kindness to another individual, one day he might be up, you may be down.
Okay.
But when the dead is gone, you ain't never getting that back from him.
Right.
So that's why sometimes they say pay it forward. All right. But but it's showing that you got to be able to share. All right. Let's go into the next verse, 12.
When thou hast made an end of tithing all thy tithe, verse 12. When thou hast made of tithing all thy tithe in the 3rd year, which is the year of tithing, and hast given it unto the Levite, to the stranger, and to the fatherless, and to the widow, that they may eat within thy gates and be satisfied, then thou shalt say before Yehovah thy God, I have put away the hollow things out of my house, and I have also given unto the Levite, and to the stranger, and to the fatherless, and to the widow, according to all thy commandment which thou hast commanded me.
Keep going.
I have not transgressed any of thy commandments, neither have I forgotten them.
Hold right there, before we go further.
Talk about that.
All right. You mean to tell me that prayer ain't ended yet? And sometimes we get upset on Yom Kippur and say, wow, we doing some long prayers standing up here for a long time. We rocking back and forth for a long time. Some of us do like this here. Do them knee bends, them slight knee bends and stuff like that. Some people, some of us, we always said, when I came up, we always tell them, stand as you're able. I've been in places where people don't even consider the people on Yom Kippur and say, stand as you able. That's important. I'm sharing this here going forward because some people is not able, it's not even the age. Some people's not able to stand up for a long time and say certain prayers because, we consider ourselves going in before the throne of the All-Highest on that particular day. Mm-hmm. So normally when you go in the courtroom, in a regular earthly courtroom, you stand before the judge.
Right.
All right. So when you're saying prayers and making testimony, you normally be standing, especially when you're looking for exoneration. All right. But here it is that we have, you got to still consider the people that have, different ailments on that particular time. Whether they take medication, whether they do this and that and the other, then it's for the strong to bear the infirmities of the weak. Amen. All right. So that means if you say, look, I'm praying on your behalf as well. And we do it all the time, all year long. When we do it, who's going to say the tefillah? Mm-hmm. Why do you select the individual to say the tefillah if you don't believe that his tefillah going to cover everybody and have everybody's interests at heart? So when you say the tefillah, and whoever the individual come up to say the tefillah for the prayer for the congregation, all right, then you still should be considerate that more so on Yom Kippur about those people in our midst when we're going through a fast day. It makes sense? Well, if it don't, it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me because you want God to consider you on that day. Right. So what about your fellow human being? All right, so now, and this guy testifying about his integrity on that day. Right. We start say, for the sin which you committed, my father Cain, Abinuma Cain, we committed this and that. Now we know, all us, no one person is in this room or on this block could commit all the sins we confess on Yom Kippur. None of us. Some of us stuff we say, I might be a crook, but I don't steal from the elder. Yeah. I'm a crook, but I don't steal from the elder. I just don't cross those lines. You know what I mean? So some people might say, yeah, I might rape people, man, but I don't want to rape single women. They ain't raping no married women. From the one extreme to the next extreme, because those are prayers that we actually say on Yom Kippur. For the sins that are created by rape. I ain't never raped nobody. Nope. But I'm saying it along with everybody else because why? The strong bearing the infirmities of the weak, and we take responsibility as a community. So we say those prayers. But you be looking around and say, well, now, I wonder who in here could do something like that. Because if we had all those criminals that we could look at, right, we'd be scared to stand around. Analyze that. If I knew everybody did everything that we read about on Yom Kippur, you started looking around and say, well, do that look like them? Oh, man. But you're supposed to focus on you. And hopefully, if there's a person in the room, you don't want to know by identity. You want them to change just like you're trying to change. Am I making sense about that? Yeah. That's what we're supposed to come through. All right? But this guy talking about, and this is a testimony that we read about that this guy's talking about. That he didn't keep stuff. He ain't hide, hoard and stuff. Acting like, I got deep pockets and short arms when it comes down to bringing the stuff up I'm supposed to bring. I said, the book bringing it out like that. He making a testimony, say, I didn't take nothing from somebody. So we got to pay attention to what was said here because we're coming very close because we passed the middle of this 6 month. All right? And a lot of times we're into the season of what they call statutes, which means asking for pardon. Slicker, pardon, excuse, I just say, I don't like to say excuse me in the sense, I just say a pardon. Even though the word could be, slicker could be pardon, but it's like excuse me. That's what we say to each other. But a lot of times, those that come up from the south say, I beg your pardon.
Right.
I beg your pardon. Because when you talk about, well, excuse me,
Right.
that's like a demand.
Yeah.
But when you say, I beg your pardon, then that's a whole nother story. You're being more submissive. All right? All right, but let's go a little further. Pick it up.
14. I have not eaten thereof in my mourning, neither have I put any thereof away being unclean, nor have I given thereof for the dead. I have hearkened to the voice of Yehovah my God, and have done according to all that thou hast commanded me.
Hold it right there. What's important, I just want to point this out real quick. And I'm going to start speeding it up a little bit more. But when a person is mourning, a person is depressed, you lost a loved one, you say, oh, man, I ain't paying attention to the stuff that belongs to God. Just fix me something up here. I eat this. I had this here committed. Once you commit something to the service of the Creator, it's no longer yours. Right. And you can't say, well, God should understand I'm mourning, so I need to eat it. Where do we get something similar to that in our history? I think if I try to make an analogy of just a little bit, I got to think of the first high priest. All right? Because Moses was angry. He was angry. Man lost 2 sons this day, and it's a festive occasion. It's a dedication of the Mishkan. And then at the dedication of the Mishkan, Moses was upset at that particular time and said, and he addressed not the guy who's responsible, which is his brother, Aharon. He addressed the nephews, the Aaron's sons. And it's Aaron's responsibility, but he just had lost 2 sons that day. And he said, why do you eat the sin offering? God told Aaron, don't even mourn, don't even weep.
Right.
Him or his sons could anoint oils on him, and they're going to cause a problem for him. He's going to die too. All right? He said, let the people weep and mourn for him. But how did Aaron feel? He dealt with everything else except an offering that comes every month. The only sin offering that comes every month is the Rosh Chodesh offering. It's the sin offering of people, to God. Sin offering for the moon, but to God. That's the only offering. That's the one that was in question. That's the one he's supposed to eat. But he figured that this tragedy hit me that hard. Would God respect that I'm eating this and all this that happened on me? And Moses was satisfied. He never asked God, was that okay? God was satisfied?
Yeah.
Moses never asked God. Normally Moses said, well, let me check this out.
Right.
Let me find out what's going on. But you read right in that instant that he said he was satisfied from what Aaron said. So here now we get something similar. That if Aaron, the high priest, then eat something that was dedicated, that would normally be his portion, that would normally belong to him, how much more are we supposed to learn from that? Just the little small things. Let's move on. Let's see what's happening.
16. This day Yehovah thy God command thee to do these statutes and these ordinances. Thou shalt therefore observe to do them with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Thou hast avouched Yehovah this day to be thy God, and thou wouldst walk in his way and keep his statutes and his commandments and his ordinances and hearken to his voice. And Yehovah has avouched thee this day to be his own peculiar people, as he promised thee. And thou shalt keep all his commandments, and make thee high above all the nations that he hath made in praise, that thou mayest be a holy people unto Yehovah thy God, as he hath spoken.
Hold it right there. Now, first of all, you got a lot of things that happen in verses. I'm just going to bring out a couple, highlight a couple things in here. All right. First of all, after all this dedication here, all right, it says, this day the Lord thy God commanded thee to do these statutes and ordinances. Thou shalt therefore observe to do them with all thy heart, with all thy soul. There's nothing left after that. Nothing left after that you could do. All right? And thou hast avouched the Lord this day to be thy God. What I want to focus on is, I thought God was our God all the time. Why only now? We've been out here 40 years rolling around. Why only now, this day? that God is our God. Did we have some other God in the past for them 40 years?
Uh-oh.
I mean, besides that golden calf, you know what I mean?
Yeah, talk about
The people try to throw that up on us, you know, because said the people made it. The mixed multitude had this issue going on, all right? And Israel just complied. But it said 40 years later, now God is our God. Well, what were we doing all that time?
Getting ready.
You know what I mean? We being fed manna every day. So when the selection came about, and then just one more thing, I'm just going to gloss over because it's just too much. I'm going to get to another point. That another point is that in Exodus, I believe 19th chapter, something like that, being a peculiar people, a unique people, a treasured people to the Most High was a condition. Right now, it's not a condition. That's what it is.
Right.
So 40 years later, it's not the condition. It's what you already are. And then it's a difference between being a traditional people and being a covenant people. We are people of a covenant. We're not people of a tradition. Right. Though within our covenant, we have some certain traditions. But when a person got a traditional people, that means, oh, okay, you know, you Israelite over here, you know, out the tribe of Joseph. So I'm a Judite over here. So we have a tradition over here. You ain't part of you ain't part of me. Because we got this tradition going down over here. So you ain't part of the set. You can't be part of it ever. Because we have a tradition. We ain't taking no outside folks that's not from the tribe of Judah. And you might have a condition say, well, we ain't going to take no Judites either. That's a tradition. All right? But a covenant is like, you know, you invite people, but you can never invite people to a tradition. If you have a covenant, say you make an agreement.
Right.
That's a covenant. We make contracts all the time, in and out of Israel, right? So we have covenants that contracts we make in and out of Israel. People can be invited in, but if we have a tradition, as like some Israelites like to believe that we have only a tradition, then nobody else. Well, we out there trying to win friends, influence people to a better way of life and a better lifestyle, knowing that they might not be Israelites. That don't make any kind of sense. That's why it's reminding us that we are people of a covenant. That anybody that want to be down with the covenant got to agree to the contract.
That's right.
Once you agree to the contract, we good. Because we got these clauses here that we're going to make very clear. You know what I mean? And the final announcement, it ain't going to be that small print, as you're going to see within here. It ain't going to be no small print. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times they say, didn't you sign it? Well, I thought I was covered. Well, you didn't look at that small print. Oh, thank you. Yeah, fine print. I like that. That fine print. So especially I read glasses. I need glasses now. You know what I mean? I used to be able to be good, man. But you know, I had a hawk vision. But now I got these glasses here, and even with the glasses, I might miss the fine print. And if it's too much jargon written down there, you say, just tell me where I need to sign. Well, I can read signature, because that's one word. And I sign off. All right? But the thing is, when we have a covenant, and when God make a covenant, it's going to be a big print that when you hit town, you see what's going on.
Yeah.
You know? Hit town. So that's the difference, and we're coming up to that. But let's pick it up from here. I'm not going to spend that much time on it. We're going to 27.
And Moshe and all the elders of Yisrael commanded the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you this day. And it shall be on the day when ye shall pass over the Jordan into the land which Jehovah thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt set up great stones and plaster them with plaster. Thou shalt write upon them all the words of this law when thou art passed over, that thou mayest go into the land which Jehovah thy God give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, as Jehovah, the God of thy fathers, has promised thee.
Hold right there. All right, before we go to the fourth verse. All right. One of the things I like to look at, the first verse in that chapter, it says, and Moses and the elders of Israel commanded the people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need a support system, no matter how great you are. In order for something to be accomplished, you got to have a support system. And I'm going to take this time to talk about support system just for a moment. All right? Because, you know, I noticed that, you know, we have a lot of people, but a lot of people don't put their time in to support a particular place. I ain't talking about finance. I'm not even talking about the finance. I'm saying put a little work. You know, why is it that, you know, I mean, you know, and I you know, in general, because you know, it ain't just here. I've been, you know, a couple places. I've been here up in New York for a minute, and I'm not new to, you know, to the Israelite community. But the thing is that, why is it always the elder people that, you know, getting up in age and everything like that, they got grown kids, and their kids got kids,
Right.
and they the ones that's still doing the work. So that should make you think and consider that we're failing and leaving it a directive and, you know what I mean, to the next generation. Because if you still doing the work and you're a grandparent and stuff like that, and you don't have anybody else to step in and pitch in and help out, then there's something wrong with the program, because somebody's missing the message. It shouldn't be that, you know what I mean, the many lean on the few.
Right.
Because that has become what they call oppression. Not bad, but just slice it in the final analysis, it's oppression. You know what I mean? So we got to really consider, is the oppression was caused by us, by not neglecting our job to make sure the next generation be considered to do certain things, all right? Or is the next generation just strictly rebelling? And either way, that becomes a problem. So we got to consider that if everybody going to hopefully be able to get a little more, become an elder in this society, in this way of life. And one of the greatest things in the elder is that when you see that your works are going to be carried on by somebody else. You know, that's what you like, and they're going to take it to another level. All right, you be proud when your kids graduate high school. You know, you say, "Wow," you know what I mean. That diploma got their name on it, but you say, "Man, that's my son or my daughter." You know, say, "Look at you say, look at here." You know, they graduate college and got their name up there. You say, "Wow," like I joke with my sons. I say, "Well, you know, y'all got sheepskin on the wall. I just got some books against the wall." You know what I mean? But I'm proud. I say that about the sons and the daughter. I say, yeah, y'all got all these stuff, man. Y'all don't even use names. Y'all use initials, PhDs and DRs and all that kind of stuff. You know, so you got all these different initials and stuff like that. But, you know, hanging up on the wall and stuff, you know, framed up. You know, and all I got is some books against the wall. Y'all got some against the wall too, but I need these books as my legacy.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But one of the things is that you pushing them because the next generation stand on the shoulders of the previous generation. All right, so you give them an upstart. So, and when you see that it's not doing that, then you got to look at yourself. That's why the elders wind up commanding with Moses. It said Moses and the elders of the people commanded him, right? It didn't just say Moses, because he needs some help. He needs support. He getting ready to check out the scene anyway. And since he getting ready to check out the scene, and how old them guys were, there weren't too many old guys, unless they was Levites. Quite a few older women, but weren't too many old guys, old men. Because we know the men 20 and over had died. And when they talk about now we became a people this day, this the generation that was giving Moses problem. This the generation that compared the land of Israel to the, the land of Egypt rather, to the land of milk and honey. This the same new guys that getting ready to go into the land. So how loyal was they all that time, and yet sometimes God works with you in spite of you. So we got to look at those type of things here. So now we got to concentrate and start looking. Don't have to look far away. We got to look within our own little circle. Are we really instilling something into the next generation to be more responsible?
Message.
I know, and that's important because I've been at the pantries. I've been to come around here at different places, and it's always the same older people putting in that work. Now, I'm gonna tell you a story. I ain't gonna tell you what son it is, but I'm gonna tell you a story. My son, because I'm always, talking to, triple G stuff, official, old school, original, So, my son, on the phone, so it was Isha, and I heard in the back, I said, take out the garbage, you're on the way out. So my son, you know, in the early days, it was a long time ago, but he said, wow, I didn't want my Abba to hear me tell me I'm taking out the garbage. And I said, what's wrong with that? You know, he said, Abba, man, you know, I ain't think, you know, I didn't want you to hear us telling me taking out the garbage. I said, that's a man's job.
Right.
He said, you take out the garbage? I said, yeah, foreign and domestic. What don't belong in the house, got to go. It got to go. So at least you got some authority to say what is garbage in the house. You know what I mean? So grab on to that authority. That's one of the authorities they ain't trying to take from you. So when they say, take out the garbage, I say, well, I think that's garbage over there too. I'm taking this one out too. You know what I mean? So it's nothing wrong with that. Because, you know, you help to help me. You want to help me to be in shape, to help you out. So, you know, give a hand so you get more hands in. You know, that's what it's about. You know what I mean? I wash dishes, and I got a dishwasher. But I'm saying, but I can't wait till it load up. I can't stand to wait till it load up, so I got to do stuff on the fly.
Right.
You know, but these are some of the things about making sure you lend a hand, and sometimes, you know, you got to teach the next generation to be more responsible and recognize that one day they ain't gonna be able to do the things they normally can do today. All right, and you helping to secure their future, not your future. Most of our laws, we read a law not too long ago. Briefly, it was talking about honor your father and mother. Then later on, it talks about, you know, what I mean, about the bird sitting on the nest with the dam, and the reason and penalty and benefit is the exact same thing. You know, so that your days will be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. One is easy to do, you know, which is chasing that bird away and get what's in the nest. All right. The other one's hard. You know, but most birds don't run away. That's why I say chase them. Make sure it go, because she's gonna put out fighting for their young. You know, even if it's a duck or something like that, you say, well, they ain't got no sharp beak. They're gonna try to do some stuff and try to defend it that's why I said make a flee. But the benefit is in that law. So one is easy to do and the other one's difficult to do, but it has the same weight because it comes from the Creator. All right, so we're just gonna go just a little bit more, and talk about right. You know, okay, when you talk about right, when we cross the Jordan, all right, and it says, thou shalt set up these great stones and plaster them with plaster, right? Pick it up from the third verse again. Third verse.
Thou shalt write upon them all the words of this law when thou art passed over, that thou mayest go into the land which Jehovah thy God give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, as Jehovah thy God of thy fathers hath promised thee. And it shall be, when ye are passed over, ye are ordained that ye shall set up these stones which I command you this day. In Har Ebal thou shalt plaster them with plaster. And there thou shalt build an altar unto Jehovah thy God, an altar of stones. Thou shalt lift no iron tool upon them. Thou shalt build the altar of Jehovah thy God of unhewn stones, and thou shalt offer burnt offerings thereon unto Jehovah thy God. Thou shalt sacrifice peace offerings, and shalt eat it there. And thou shalt rejoice before Jehovah thy God. Thou shalt write upon the stones all the words of this law very plainly.
Stop right there before we go to the next verse, the 9th verse. All right. What I want to bring out is that we're going to find out and talk about two mountains here. But it says, in Mount Ebal, thou shalt plaster them with plaster, and thou shalt build an altar unto the Lord. Now, we're going to learn later on that the two mountains, Gerizim and Ebal, you know, those two mountains there, that Ebal was for the cursing, and Gerizim was for the blessings. Gerizim don't look so plush and luscious.
Right.
Ebal, well, you know, according to tradition, you always had to debate where it's at, was a beautiful setting, and that's where the curses was. And this is where you're supposed to be writing the laws on those stones. And you're getting the stones from that area. You ain't getting it from the blessing area. You're getting the stone from the area where the curse is going to be. And when you're going to set up the altar, don't we already have an altar?
Right.
Why now they say make an altar of stone? And we already had we had the Mishkan traveling around.
That's right.
We had the brazen altar. We had the golden altar. Now we're talking about we're going to get some stone altar because it's going to be an unusual setting. Unusual. The tabernacle going over there with them.
Right.
But yet, that particular altar that they've been using for regular and afterwards is not for this particular purpose of the contract. All right? So what we're trying to do is solidify the contract, and we're keeping it on the same level. Wasn't the tablets made of stone?
Yes, sir. Message.
All right? The altar we had was, made of wood and overlaid with brass. And the other ones made of wood and inlaid and overlaid with gold. It was gold. Pure gold, sorry. The other one, the golden altar was just pure gold itself. All right? So the brazen altar that we actually did the major sacrifice was wood overlaid with brass. But yet, that's not the altar that's going to be used for this contract.
Right.
It's similar to the 2 tablet stones that we had. They was made of stone. So now you need a contract on a level or something that we're dealing with. Even Steven. So when we bring our sacrifices and stuff on this particular time and the produce of the land, and it's at an irregular time, and it didn't say Rosh Chodesh.
Right.
It didn't say none of the Shalosh Regalim, like Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, It didn't say none of that. When you get there,
yep.
That's why they wind up being in Gilgal. That's why when they cross over, that's the first thing Joshua did, because he had to solidify the contract. You know what I mean? Because like I said, we are people of a covenant, and so that's where we're at with this. And then it said clearly, so that means that it shouldn't be no smudges. If you got bad handwriting, you ain't the one to work with it. Because some people T's look like L's, and some people T's look like Z's. And then some people J's, we don't know if it's an F or what.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So some people just, you know how people sign checks? That's your signature? Where the L? Where the I? Where the E at? Could say, well, so nobody would be able to copy my handwriting. Well, I need to know if you have a handwriting first. I need to know that first. Because, because I said, you doesn't stop at the signature. You done sent me a note with all this stuff up here, and I can't figure out heads or tail, and I read English. So it's important, that these laws, when you come into the land of Israel, crossing that Jordan, and you notice it's only when they cross the Jordan and not on the other side where they at,
right,
that they say this is the establishment of the laws for this particular land. Because like I said before in one of my talks, is that when they describe the boundaries of Israel, they never included the other side of the river where the other tribes were, right? They only included from the Jordan beyond, never that side.
Never. Yet
it was part of Israel, but never that side. So let's just move on a little bit. I know I'm gonna leave a lot of stuff here.
Verse 9.
All right.
And Moshe and the Levites spoke unto all Yisrael, saying, keep silent and hear, Yisrael, this day are become a people unto Yehovah thy God. You shall therefore hearken to the voice of Yehovah thy God, and do his commandments and his statutes, which I command you this day.
Hold it right there, hold it. That means right then and there. Only now you are a people of God. Only now because you know what to write. Only now that you became a people of the covenant. Because some of y'all, some of y'all had some casualties in the family. We don't need to go back there. But some people didn't make it. But y'all made it. So now you are the people of the Most High God, and you are the covenant people. And you're going to have a copy of the covenant that you can say, well, let me go in my safe deposit box and let me see what the contract is. You know how it is when something happens, you can't find the insurance policy. Mm-hmm. You know you got one. The guy say, well, what's the policy number? How am I supposed to remember that? What's the policy number? I said, it's going to take me a moment. You need time to look it up, look for it. He don't even know the policy number, and he sold it to you.
Right.
But they want you to know the policy number right away. So now you got to go looking for it. But when it comes to that contract that the Creator gave you, it's no problem. When you pass by that neighborhood, you know what's going on. You know all the laws. All right? But we ain't going to stop there. We're going to just go a little bit further. I'm going to skip over some of this stuff here. But it said, be patient with people this day. All right. Keep going on 11. Skip down to 11.
11.
I mean, we are at 11. That's where we are at 11. Go ahead.
And Moshe charged the people the same day, saying, These shall stand upon Gerizim to bless the people, and when you are passed over Yarden, Shimon and Levi and Yehudah, Yissaschar and Yosef and Benjamin, and these shall stand upon Abel to curse, Reuben with Gad, Asher and Zebulun, Dan and Naphtali. And the Levites shall speak and say unto all the men of Israel with a loud voice, Cursed be the man that makes a graven or a molten image, an abomination unto Jehovah, the works of the hands of a craftsman, and sets it up in secret. And all the people shall answer and say, Amen.
All right, stop right there. All right. Okay, we got that part. We got that part. But what I want to bring out is that in Numbers, it gives you 12 tribes. And out the 12 tribes, it talk about Levi on the blessing side, tribe of Levi. And then we talk about Joseph. Really, it talk about Joseph, the tribe of Joseph. You read about the tribe of stone for the tribe of Joseph on the breastplate.
Right.
But we know he had Ephraim and Manasseh. So now, it ain't talking about Ephraim and Manasseh. It's talking about Joseph.
That's right.
Now, half of Manasseh is on the other side anyway, but they supposed to be up on this mountain. I mean, but who going to represent Joseph? Both of them? And if the Levites is up there on that mountain, who's supposed to be down there in the middle between them, uttering what they're supposed to utter? Just something to think about. Because you can't be up there and down here too. That's something to think about it. but it names who's supposed to be up on that mountain. Simeon, Yehudah, Levi and Yehudah and stuff like that. And then who the ones chose that I want to be on the curse side? Why I gotta stand over here? Why can't I stand in the blessing? I might feel a certain way. I mean, everybody gonna say amen, but why I gotta be on the side that got a problem? And the side I'm on, we all starting off getting the stones from that side. We all starting off having, an altar on that side. We all starting off going to have the sacrifice and eat on that side. But yet, when it come down and started talking, well, your guys belong over here, your guys belong over there, and then these Levites, man, a lot of us got jealous of those Levites, man, because they do a whole lot of stuff. So how they going to be in two places at one time?
Uh-oh.
They already got Kohanim.
Yeah.
And they got the Levites, and they're all separate. They're all holy. And now they're up on the mountain of the blessings too. I mean, don't the priest got his own blessing? We hear it every week. Then you hear it all the time. How much you gonna give them?
Oh, man.
No, there's something to think about, as we go through, and then discuss, later, how we come with those numbers and names and stuff like that, and why this tribe over there and that tribe over there, and then where the Levites is when they're supposed to start saying it, and then how would it be said? Would it only be said by the ones that's going to do the cursing, or is it going to be said by the ones that only do the blessing, or is it ones that they say Judah and them? We ain't saying nothing, and it's easy for you to say amen when it comes to the curse, because you ain't the ones got to live with that. But you don't want to be the one that be affected by it either. So you can say amen on that. And it's easy for you to say, amen to the blessing, because you over there. But I need some of that blessing too, so I'm going to say amen too.
Yep.
So now how the response? Was it going to be call and response or together? Like y'all said amen when, Lyle, Baal Corey started saying that. And without any coaching, everybody said amen. So that's something to discuss and look at carefully. Because it's important to know where your blessings come from and where the curses come from. And then this particular portion deals with curses, then go with blessings, and then go back to curses.
Yeah.
You say, wow. But what was unique is that in the very beginning, it talked about the mountain that the blessing is going to be on. That's something. Mm-hmm. It talked about the mountain that the blessing is going to be on, and then it started talking about these curses. Then, and then it talked about blessings. And he talked about, and enumerate 12 curses here. All right? And then let's go to the last part of that curse, the 12th one.
What verse?
or let me move on down. When you run out of curses, that's, that's at 26. 26.
Cursed be he that confirmeth not the words of this law to do them. And all the people shall say, Amen.
All right. Now you better be in it or not. Because if you don't say amen, you know what I mean, then they got you.
Yeah.
So you might well participate. Even if you got to perpetrate, you better participate at this particular time. You understand what I'm saying? Because this is a catch-22. No, it's clear what's going on. Because you see what the contract looked like. And God already adopted and took you at this time. All right, we're going to just touch on this. We're going to part of the 28th, and then I'm going to just finish up in the 29th. All right, so let's read the beginning of the 28th chapter.
And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of Yehovah thy God, to observe to do all his commandments which I command you this day, that Yehovah thy God will set thee on high above all the nations on the earth. And all the blessings shall come upon thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yehovah thy God.
Okay, we're good enough right there. All right. So I just wanted to know that we started with some curses, but we started off with some blessing on the mountain. But we started enumerating the curses. And one of the things we got to say, well, why we start enumerating curses? You better know where the problem is.
Yeah.
You better know when things are going to be rough. The blessing, people don't tend to worry about the blessing, you know what I mean? They bless us, look, everything going on, all right. Everything hunky-dory, stuff like that. Everything fine. People say, I got no complaints.
Right.
I said, well, that's a good sign because, I heard that song say, I won't complain, but I never heard it say, I got no complaints. I like to get there where I have no complaint. But I heard that song, I won't complain, because unless it's perfect, you got something, you got something to talk about. If things are perfect, then there's no need to ask in your prayer. Your prayer would just be praise and thanks. But if it's not perfect, it ain't gonna just be praise and thanks. It's gonna be some petitions up in there. I got a list. I need some things handled. Yeah, I got a little problem over here. I know you see it, but right now, I need it done like yesterday. I know I'm not worthy, but put me through the storm. Put me through the storm for a half a moment, just for a half a moment. I'll try to tally up later, and send me a little credit.
Right.
Because it said the iniquity of the Amorites was not yet fulfilled.
Right.
It told that to Abraham. Right? Say, look here, they still got it. They still got a credit limit.
Right.
All us that got credit cards know when you reach that limit, go by, then you get that little. But that card said, say, wow, what happened? You done passed your limit. You wasn't watching yourself. And we monitor our life as much as we monitor a credit card, we'd be all right.
Oh, man.
We'll be all right. All right, but my time is almost out. Let me just go on just a little bit further. All right, we're going to skip all the way. We know about the curses starting on the 15th verse of that again. So like I said, blessing, curse, blessing, and then a curse. All right, and they enumerate more of the curses, so you need to know where the problems lie, in order to fix it. So we're going to go, I just want to bring the 47th verse of that same chapter, bring that out first, and then we go into the 29th. 47th verse of the 28th chapter. All right.
Because thou didst not serve Yehovah thy God with fullness and gladness of heart, by reason of the abundance of all things.
Hold it right there. So now, when we look at that particular portion there, you supposed to be joyful when you're doing law?
What?
You're supposed to be joyful by saying, I don't steal. You should be joyful that I don't bear false witness.
That's right.
You should be joyful when I come down and observe Shabbat. And somebody saying, here it come again. I wonder what they're going to talk about today. It ain't like they come with some new stuff all the time. Well, we got to graduate past the old stuff. Repeating courses is always difficult. It's always difficult to repeat the course. Because the second time around, make it harder.
Yeah.
You said, man, I wish I would have passed this the first time. You know what I mean? Been there, done that. I'll tell you, if you got to take something over again, boy, you said, man, I should have paid attention and not cut so many classes. Because when you got to sit there, now I want to pass it, and I'm uncomfortable now because I want to pass it, have to pass it, and I should have passed it when it was easy. Because then people that went for, in my time, went for, what's that, GED? I don't know, I think they changed the name now these days. But when you need, but if you didn't graduate high school and you went for your GED, don't you know that was harder than graduating high school with a diploma? Because at least some of the teachers, they like you. They give you a passing grade. You know what I mean? Say, well, he's a nice guy, or she a nice young lady, you know what I mean? I know with a little time and a little effort, she gonna be all right, or he gonna be all right. But GED, they know you desperate. You know, they know you was hard-headed. They know they say, look here, this is America here. You had to go in the field and work.
Wow.
So they're gonna put it on you. So your test gonna be hard. And you wish you would went to school when you could coach and say, what's the answer to number 5?
You know what I mean?
You know, what's the answer to number 5? Tell me that. Hold your paper down right. I don't think that's right. You sure? Because that's the way we went to school. But when we go to GED, it's not like that. Not like that at all. All right? But let's go over to the 29th. We'll finish up there. But anyway, joy is what we're supposed to do. When we serve this God, this Creator, we're supposed to always have a joy about doing that. You know, when you leave here, you shouldn't leave here tired and exhausted. You know, that's not the motive. You know, you're supposed to leave here energetic and enthused and ready to go through the week. So when we used to say, when you come to Shabbat, you come to recharge yourself spiritually. All right? Don't spend it all out and then say, look here, when I go on the street, man, how was the service? Man, I was wore out today, man, but it was all right, but it wore me out. I said, wow. I thought the word of God was supposed to be revival and uplifting. There you go. So how in the world you get wore out in the service, and you come here to say, I come here to be recharged, rejuvenated. You know, that's what it's all about. Say, tell me something about myself without pointing me out. That's what we're looking for. Tell me something about myself without pointing me out. You know, how I need to fix me. And if I can fix me, perhaps I could, be an influence on somebody else. All right, 29th chapter.
And Moshe called unto all Yisrael and said unto them, You have seen all that Yehudah did before your eyes in the land of Egypt unto Pharaoh, and unto all his servants, and unto all his land, the great trials which your eyes saw, and the signs and those great wonders. But Yehudah hath not given you a heart to know, eyes to see, and ears to hear until this day.
Stop right there. You mean tell me we don't understand until now Moses telling us? All these years. And we getting manna still at this time, every day. All right, coming down from heaven. We seen all these miracles going on. Now this is a generation didn't see the miracles in Egypt, but if you could identify and bring up a story about the land of Egypt being the land flowing with milk and honey, and a good land, and you wasn't there, you born over here in the desert, then somebody must have been talking. So no, if they was talking, you heard some other stuff about Egypt.
Hello.
You know what I mean? So now, it tell you right then and there that only now God allow you to understand what he was doing with you all these years. And he's going to go and show you some things. Because sometimes we don't pay attention to our blessings. We pay attention to the problems. But we never pay attention to the blessings. Because know what the problem is meant to get your attention.
That's right.
So now you say, oh man, some of us, you say, well, man, coming up, school said, I got that zit, I got that pimple, what's going on? Let me see if I could cover it up. With the cream and all that kind of stuff, or something to handle. I got zits on my nose, tip of my nose. How am I hide that? That's on the tip of my nose. This kind of stuff, get your attention. All right? And you don't like that kind of attention. So when problems hit and the Creator drops something on you, it's to get your attention. You know? It ain't always a test.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, because we read later, we read one time, we say he suffered us the hunger to prove us. Well, I mean, could we had another example except that one? You know what I mean? Why should I go hungry for you to check me out? Could I have another exam? You know what I mean? But that's what the Creator, that's what through the prophet Moses told us, right? But let's push on and see what we got.
I've led you 40 years in the wilderness.
Uh-huh.
Your clothes have not waxed old upon you, and your shoe has not waxed old upon your foot. You have not eaten bread, neither have you drunk wine or strong drink, that ye might know that I am Yehovah your God.
Stop before we get to the 6th verse. All right, because we only got 3 more verses after this. All right, so now, one of the things I used to tell, my sons, I said, let me tell you something. One of the things I really don't like to do, and that's just me personally, I mean, other people might do it, I don't like to discuss Torah issues when a person's drinking.
Okay.
Israelites are not Israelites. Now, I mean, if you ask 1 or 2 questions, we can see that, because it should be in everything. But a lot of times when people get inebriated, now they got all this wisdom. When people get smoked up, now their minds are on cloud 9. Say, brother or sister, I'm going to tell you something about the book today. You probably didn't figure this out, So they got all that stuff going on. Now, me personally, I never, had any kind of things like that coming up, though I hung around people that did. But people find it strange because the place I come from, a lot of stuff went on, but I was pretty much straight-laced. I used to say, well, my sons will handle the slack I had in that area. But the thing is that if I'm giving you 100% of my attention, what percent of your mind I'm getting if you're inebriated? You know what I mean? Now you want to talk about something godly, and you want something, that's supposed to be uplifting, and all of a sudden now you in the spirit, but I'm not sure which spirit you're in. But now, you're looking for, Dr. Savior, something like that, because you up there done smoked up or drank up and everything like that. Now, let's talk about the book. We about to talk about the book, man, Sister, what I mean? I was just reading something the other day. Well, why didn't you tell me about it when you were straight?
Right.
Why now, after you drinking, you just had this thought? This new, revelation. But here it is, the Creator kept us sober. Right. And that make it even worse because you sober for all these years, and you didn't act right. Wow. You didn't act right. We did everything. A lot of this guys, man, I got to work on a toenail right now. I mean, but just say you had shoes, your foot wasn't swollen. You know what I mean? Don't you know you stand on your feet all day long, you get them big ankles at the end, your feet be all puffed up? Yeah. And I say, I got to get off my feet. No matter how comfortable your shoes is, if you're on your feet for a long time, you can say, woo, I got to save my dogs. Yeah. I got to get them out of there. And if you don't leave, if you don't get out there and take care of them right away, you're going to see them moving like they on their own animation, like an animation. You're going to see them moving and throbbing. You say, wow, I didn't know my feet was that color. Got red and swole up and everything. I'm saying, this was happening. So they didn't notice that. You're healthy, you're marching. You ain't riding everywhere you go. Right. You got cattle, you moving around. All right? And your clothes. You know how it is, man. Your clothes didn't wax old. Not only your clothes didn't wax old, you didn't grow out of your clothes. That's it. You know what I mean? A lot of times, you say, you say, oh, this don't fit no more. Let me see if I can get up in there. Don't fit no more. Or you starve so much you say, wow, this thing's wrapped around like that. Say, I was deep, but what happened? So your clothes fit, and it didn't have a smell. Sometimes you could get a certain odor in your clothes that you send to the cleaners with the chemical. Bam, you come back and say, well, well, that chemical didn't work. Throw in the wash machine, boom, it didn't work. Or staying in there, it ain't never come out. All right, so, and it don't be zara'at, you know, that what we consider leprosy. You know, so these type of things here, we didn't notice. So the last two verses, you finished the last verse.
Ye have not eaten bread, neither have you drank wine nor strong drink, that ye might know that I am Yehudah your God.
Keep going.
And when ye came unto this place, Sichon, Menacheshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us to battle, and we smote them. And we took their land and gave it for an inheritance unto the Reubenite, and to the Gadite, and to the half tribe of Manasseh. Observe therefore the words of this covenant, and do them, that ye may make all that ye do to prosper. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. See, so what we learned from that particular episode there in the scriptures is that at that particular time, we've noticed certain things. They mention Manasseh now, getting part of the tribe. They don't mention Manasseh up on the mountain. You know, don't mention Ephraim on the mountain. All right. So right then and there, that we should be thankful that the Creator brought us through in spite of us. You know. I mean, because sometimes when we coming up to Yom Kippur, and you know, before we get to Yom Teruah, the trumpet sound that we had during this particular season now, it starts doing Slichot, and the 27th Psalm is pretty much just said from the beginning of Elul all the way to Shemini Atzeret. It was a psalm known as the Psalm of Repentance, and it's interesting to look at the 27th Psalm every day. Most people that follow a certain type of tradition, but you know, we read that twice a day. But, you know, covenant people can read it as much as they want, anytime. So with that, I hope you got something out of what I said. Any mistakes been my own. And I say shalom aleichem and Shabbat shalom. Thank you for the time.